Welcome, everybody, to the Rehash podcast, where we're going to do a show that we did like a month ago.
Really?
Yeah, we are.
I don't remember what I said.
Yeah, so that's good, right? Because we couldn't redo the show any sooner. We had to wait in order for us to redo the show because otherwise it doesn't work. The recording the other show didn't go so well because of various issues. So we're gonna redo it now. The reason we have to redo it is because somebody paid us to answer a question. So that's what we're
Yes.
gonna do. We're gonna discuss that question. And but first, I have a question for you, Fia Jeff. Why do you think Miniscript is boring?
Manuscript?
Yeah.
I don't think uh, I don't think it's boring from a technical perspective. I think it's interesting. I like the idea, but I don't think it has a lot of impact in the real world and in the process of hyper Bitcoinizing the world. So I said it was boring.
Okay. Interesting. Um, I I I disagree. So, um,
As always.
but I have the question here, but I forgot who asked it. Can you Do you know who asked the question?
Katsu.
Ah. Okay.
Katsu.
Perfect. Did we get any other questions in the
Yes,
meantime?
we did.
Oh,
I'm trying to find it.
okay. Post them, and I'll pick this one up, and
Picture.
you can get the other ones. So the question is, why do we suck at building projects on top of Bitcoin Layer One? Uh, Second part of the question is, did Ethereum virtual machines kill interest in building things on Bitcoin Layer One, and how can we fix this? Um, so the way we're going to do this is I'm going to answer the question in a brief format, and then Via Jeff's going to answer the question in a brief format.
Really? Okay.
Yes, and then we're going to contrast and compare and discuss. So I think in my brief answer would be is that there are three broad reasons or three broad limitations toward building on Bitcoin. So they're conceptual, technical, and practical. So conceptual is like, do we even know and understand what we're dealing with and what we're supposed to do? And then technically is like Bitcoin is technically very limited, even in the things that we are imagining it could be doing. It might be still very hard to do them. And a good example is Miniscript, right? Because it actually just takes script. So technically, all these things were possible, but if apparently first it requires somebody to create a specified domain of like stuff. Is like, okay, we know this works, and now within this specified domain, you can go ahead and do all the fancy stuff, or some of the fancy stuff at least, and know you're not screwing yourself over. And then practical, and that bleeds over in the Miniscript stuff, where it requires the design of protocols and software implementations and all this stuff. So and Lightning is a good example there. It's like first you need to get the idea, and then there need to be a bunch of guys who create different implementations, and they need to coordinate on those implementations, and then it has to be built out, and all the features need to be built out. And it's like we started Lightning in 2018 on mainnet, so and it's 2023 now. And I guess a lot happened, but there's still a lot more that can happen. So it's there also like with building stuff on Bitcoin Layer One. For the most part, you're probably running under the assumption that people are running a node, right? So it's not that easy to onboard people. People need to be onboarded onto Bitcoin in the first place, and there's not a lot of people that are actually onboarded onto Bitcoin in the first place. A lot of people might have Bitcoin on exchanges, but that's about it. And I think like the ordinal stuff is funny there, or the inscriptions rather. That when the inscriptions came, a lot of the NFT people came to Bitcoin, and they got confronted with the fact that they needed to run a Bitcoin node if they wanted to do all this stuff, and they frantically started to install Bitcoin nodes. So that's interesting. I mean, if there's enough of a carrot there, um, people will do it,
No,
and
but
it's
now they are already not running Bitcoin nodes anymore. I
Oh, sure,
imagine.
they're gone, but it's like, I
No, I
think it's
mean they found other ways like services, centralized servers that run
yes,
nodes for
okay, but
them.
the
Yeah,
okay, but the centralized service, okay, but the service also needs to run a Bitcoin node.
that's true.
Um, and in Ethereum, it's like everybody's using like the Infura API. And within Bitcoin, it's like if you're building stuff, if you're building like the centralized service, you're not going to use the Infura API. You're going to spin up a node and run it. Um, so at least you're running the full stack, even if then subsequently people are using you as a service to do stuff.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
only because we don't have an inferior.
no,
Like
but
if we did,
the whole reason because we don't need an Infura.
okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, it's a
Uh,
difference
yeah, go ahead.
in quantity, like how easy it is to run a node. And I guess in Ethereum, is it completely impossible? No one ever thinks about it, so they just default to Infura. But okay, continue.
No, that was
Your
that was
your
my,
brief
my
your
short.
brief answer.
Yeah, this is my brief answer.
No, I think my answer is that Ethereum and Bitcoin they serve different purposes. Even though Constant thinks Bitcoin has smart contracts, I wouldn't call it like it's not. It could you could call it smart contracts, but it's not the same category of smart contracts that Ethereum has. So the possibilities are basically orthogonal, and yeah. So I, I don't think the people that are building on Ethereum, most of them, except for this NFT case, which turns out to be a very big use case. But except for that, all the other Ethereum fancy ideas that never go anywhere, they wouldn't ever be able to be built on Bitcoin. Other things can be built on Bitcoin, but not these. But yeah, the whole point is that Ethereum has all these cool things it can do, but none of these cool things have ever materialized into anything that's useful. And of all its super smart contracting abilities, the only two things that came out of that, those from Ethereum, were the NFTs, and as we can see, the NFTs can be built on Bitcoin, and DeFi stuff, which just scam on top of another scam, and it doesn't go anywhere, doesn't help anyone. So I don't think we should worry about that. That's my answer.
I also think that so I would agree. Um, but in terms of killing interest in building on Bitcoin, I think the people that are working on Ethereum are not the type of people that would work on Bitcoin now. So
Yeah,
maybe maybe they can start working on Bitcoin now because within the Lightning space, right? There are probably a bunch of stuff that things they can do within the Lightning ecosystem, but they're not the type of developer that will work on the more foundational stuff that is pre-required to do a lot of the imagined projects you might be able to do on Bitcoin layer one. So I'm not even sure it's like stealing a lot of mind space. Other than I think it's wasting a lot of time of those people because there's nothing there ultimately with the abilities that you can do within within Ethereum for a
yeah, I
bunch of
agree.
reasons, right? I mean, even the DeFi. Okay, so I agree. You could say DeFi, and then you have whatever what is the stable coin pool shit thingy
Die.
liquidity thing? Yeah, so the liquidity pool stuff die, right? Okay, so you might say, okay, that's interesting. Yes, it's interesting, but in the context of the system, Ethereum, it just doesn't work because you have this thing called uh, minor extractable value, and they call it different now. I don't care. It's a stupid name to begin with, but it's an unlevel playing field, right? So it's
There are other problems, I think.
Yes, but there are other problems, but this is a fundamental one in the sense that it's never fair. You're never going to be able to create a fair system. And the reason that people are
Oh,
now
it's Uniswap. You're talking about Uniswap, right?
no, I'm
It's
not
not
talking
DAI.
about Uniswap.
DAI is the stable coin.
Yeah,
Uniswap is the thing that everybody likes. Even most Bitcoiners say Uniswap is a genius idea.
but isn't
And
DAI part of Uniswap or something?
no, DAI is a separate
Okay.
thing. Yeah, DAI is a token that uses some algorithm, whatever, to
Yeah.
mimic the value of the dollar. And
Oh, and Uniswap is a
Uniswap is
decentralized
very,
exchange.
yeah, the exchange.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. So this whole notion of a decentralized exchange is just like it fundamentally is it's now it's broken because it's in an unlevel playing field because there are parties there that can fuck you over and they will, right? And
yeah,
it's and the most funny thing about most funny thing about that is that when they realize that that's the case, they start to think about even more bells and fucking whistles. I mean, Ethereum is one giant clusterfuck of bells and whistles in order to solve every new issue that they, oh fuck, this is an issue. We have to get more bells and whistles. Um, and then the idea is like, okay, but we'll turn it into a marketplace. It's like, we'll we'll turn the fraud into a marketplace, so now everybody can get into the fraud equally. It's like, what the fuck? It's so fucking retarded. But they
yeah,
can't let it down. They have to go forward. So I mean, it's I think it's a waste of a lot of everybody's time, and I of course it's a waste of mind space in a broader sense. Is that there is this perception in the outside world that there is something there, well, where there's nothing actually there. And I don't know, it might take a fucking decade or even longer for people to actually finally figure it out. And I ultimately got down into the stance is like, okay, maybe you can reason through all this shit and come to the conclusion. You don't actually have to do it, but maybe that's not a scalable heuristic. So maybe we as a collective humanity have to do it at least once, right? With this stupid Ethereum shit. Fail hard eventually. So we have something to point to. I don't know. Um, but
yeah,
yeah, I guess that's it for the Ethereum side, and I guess on the Bitcoin side, it's like it's a long road. It's just gonna be a long fucking road. We should start a game, by the way.
yes. Please start the game.
Yes, I'll start the
People
game.
are waiting. People
Three,
want to see
two,
this game.
one, start the game.
First time there's Zerg on the game. No.
Well, technically the second time, but the first time was 3 weeks ago. So, do you did you watch ASL?
Yeah, I did. The first round, right?
Yeah, it's hopefully the round of 16 is going to be online soon because I'm waiting for it.
Oh, it's so sad. There's no Protoss, no Protoss players. Everybody's
They're
dead.
like it's a round of 16 and I think
Three Protoss players.
just 3.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Why? What's
Okay.
happening? Is Protoss is the weakest race? I think that's the only explanation.
Um from what I understand is that the there is a new there are some new Terran strategies that came out right around the qualifiers.
New what?
New
New what? Stra-
strategies.
For what?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think for one part, but that's in relation to Zerg. I think the Valkyrie is being used more and
Yeah,
more.
the Valkyries are against the. Yeah.
So I don't know what they're doing against Protoss.
No,
Actually,
there's one strategy that I heard that the Protoss were using a lot of that ship that carries other units and
shuttles.
shuttles. Yeah,
Yeah,
and doing a lot of shuttles and getting a lot of wins against Terran. But it's still like and then they lose all the matches against Zerg, so it doesn't matter.
I think
So
most of the matches were okay in the qualifiers.
yeah, but there were already too few Protosses to begin with. So
Hmm. I don't know. I hope that there is so many Terrans. We're gonna get a whole lot of TVT.
do you really like that?
Yes, I really like. I
you
honestly,
like you like cartons, is that so?
I
But
honestly enjoy Terran versus Terran. I think it's the best matchup.
yeah, but the latest Terran vs Terran that I watched in this tournament, they were
Yeah,
a
okay, they
lot
were
of
kind of shitty.
no, they were good. They were like
Nah,
aerodynamic, not that a line of 2,000 tanks on each side and just tanks firing all the time. And the last ASL with that royal guy, he won
hmm
against with a lot of cool Terran strategies. And never did the Terran line of tanks. Okay, next question. Someone paid like oh, it's actually a lot of sets, 2,000 satoshis, and they want us to talk about counter-Semitism and how it relates to Bitcoin. I don't know what counter-Semitism is.
it's a troll. It's a troll question.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah,
But those aren't even new questions. Those are the one that we censored the last time.
yeah, but we should talk. They paid. You should at least tell me what's counter-Semitism, and then we move again, move to the next.
It's a different way of saying anti-Semitism.
Okay, okay. So the next question: Trash Talk Bitcoiners prefers members of the Unhashed podcast. We shouldn't skip this. This is
I
important.
agree because so Ruben Somsen he wrote a proposal.
You're kidding me. He wrote a proposal for something crazy on Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Is that it?
yes. So no, but here's the thing. Um, so he wrote the or he co-wrote the silent payment proposal,
Okay,
and
but this was like 1,000 years ago.
oh whatever. And the actual no, I'm not sure that the actual proposal is that old.
No, then it's not that old, but it's older than this podcast probably.
Yeah, okay, but it's the BIP isn't I think.
There's a beep.
Yeah.
What's the name?
Okay, let me. I'm trying to look it up for it.
You liked silent payments now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, but
Interesting. Now you like Ruben stuff. You should like space chains too.
no, I dislike This is something that is actually interesting done by Ruben Somsen because all the other stuff is bullshit.
I don't think it is. I
No,
think
it's like
maybe this one is the worst of his proposals.
no, because here he's not trying to create another chain or I don't know do something else. It's like I want to do something, but it's not possible to do it trustless or trust minimized. So I'm just gonna figure out this little quirk where and then with if we just take in this little quirk, we can do this fancy stuff. It's like yeah, fuck you, dude. Um, it's
So you
every
won't
single
accept everything in your life has to be trustless. Is that it? Is that what you're
within
saying?
for me to be interesting in the context of Bitcoin.
Why
Yes,
why is Bitcoin a different context? Context?
because it has to function at scale. And it okay because it functions globally in an anonymous context, right? So we're you're you can do stuff locally in smaller scale and whatever, but for me it to be interesting, it needs to uh, hold up on that bigger scale of being like on the global anonymized internet. So every type of trust system in whatever form just ultimately breaks, and I dislike it.
Okay,
Every single game can be
but
gamed.
it's actually space chains are not. They're not. They're not trustless. They are. They are trustless. They may break for various reasons, but they are not trusted.
Yes, but we're talking about silent payments.
Okay, talk about silent payments. Silent payments is just
Uh,
you receive a payment on a dark address, and then you scan the entire UTXO set to find your payment. Something like that.
yeah, yeah. So there's this little crypto ceremony thing with Diffie Hellman key shizzle, and indeed, and then you somebody else can do that in order to do a payment, and then the receiver is able to do scan the blockchain to see if he got paid, and then So most of the cost of the protocol is actually in the scanning, which they try to optimize, because you're not looking straightforward for the address or the pub key or whatever, uh,
Yeah.
where it's sent to, because otherwise it isn't like silent, or secret or whatever. Um, so you have to dig a little bit, dig a little bit deeper. But it's
But
interesting.
the person that pays you, they tell you?
Yeah, but the moment they tell you, you already have they could have sent you an address in if you tell them, they could have sent you an address, right?
Right. So why, in which situations you wouldn't be sending
Um.
them an address?
So uh if you don't have two-way communication but only one-way communication. So for instance, I'm in a protest and I have like a sign with a QR code,
Hmm.
and then my protest is on the news.
What you're protesting against?
Um, I don't know.
Okay.
Brazilian Bitcoiners. I'm protesting against Brazilian Bitcoiners. Um, no, but it's so you can do the payment without coordinating with the receiver. That's the and the interesting thing is, so why we're shit talking on Hash Podcast people. So this was discussed at BitDevs. Am I technically allowed to say? I'm not allowed to say who was there, but I am I then technically allowed to say who wasn't there, because he wasn't there. He was sick, so
Okay.
he wasn't there to talk about his own proposal.
But he was supposed to be. He
Yeah,
just
he was
couldn't.
supposed to be there,
Okay.
but apparently he was sick.
Apparently.
Yeah, apparently, supposedly he was sick.
Yeah. So what did you do? No one understood the proposal. No one
No,
knew what to talk about.
the other guy that he co-wrote it, and the other guy was there. So
Okay. I think you were allowed to say. You just said the guy was there. You
yeah, okay, but
shouldn't.
he okay, but he hosts the event. I don't know.
Oh, I think you're not allowed to say who said what.
You're correct. Yes.
Okay. If you're here, if you're listening to this podcast, you're not allowed to say who said what in this podcast. Too.
um, but one of the interesting things, you could create protocols on top of it, in terms of identification and that kind of stuff. Um, and one of them is in relation to revocation, because how do you actually know that if you're doing the silent payment, the other person is still using those keys, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Um,
a problem.
but if
It's
you,
also a problem with people that put static addresses on their
mhm,
website. So
yeah, so
it's
yeah, it's not new in that sense. It's not new. It's not a new problem. Um, but the thing is, you could use protocols on top of that. So you could implement like PGP keys, and there you already have like a protocol for revoking keys. Um,
how do you revoke keys on PGP?
I think you just I think it should be a hierarchy or key of keys or something. Or even if it's not a hierarchy, you can have parallel ones, and you can just declare with one that the other one is not in use anymore.
I think you just publish to a server.
Yeah. It's not something super fancy. It's just that it's in the memory or reputation. It's like a reputation thing, right? So it's in the memory of all the other participants you're running with.
No, they just fetch from a server.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Which
yeah. The server is the super node, I
yeah,
guess.
it's like the Infura of PGP.
Yeah.
But I
So
don't know a lot about
people
it.
come to Nostr all the time saying, "Oh, I want to revoke my Nostr key, and we should copy the PGP approach of revoking keys because PGP already figured this out." And then I never actually looked how PGP people do, but I think they just send to a server, so it's not.
But you could
That's not really a
also,
solution.
yeah, but you could also use Nostr keys
Yeah,
and
for the silent payment stuff.
implement that on top of silent payments.
Yeah,
Now, that isn't that. I
but
think
you,
I think
but
that's
you,
interesting.
but you need to communicate. You need. How do you
No, you
how
don't
do you
need to
announce
communicate.
how do you announce that your silent payment address is not valid anymore?
No, so this is the revocation stuff, right? But the aside from the revocation is like you could make your Nostr key silent payment compatible.
Okay, okay, I
Y-
see. This is interesting. But on the other hand, it's not interesting because there are 244 blocks on the mempool waiting to be mined.
Yeah,
So
okay, for on chain. So it's okay. So I understand. Okay, so it's on chain payments, right?
yeah,
They also
but I will look into that idea because some Nasser people may like it.
um they also this should work with CoinJoin, but if it is implemented in CoinJoin, it would probably add another round to the ceremony. So it would complicate the ceremony a little bit. Um, but that's also possible. And I think something else I wrote that or read that Wasabi is now has now an integration with BTC Pay server, so you can receive payments via CoinJoin. So then that would ultimately mean that you can do a silent payment to somebody else via CoinJoin. So you have no interaction with the other person. You do the payment, and then the other person doesn't even know where the money comes from. Are you there?
Oh,
Hello,
oh, I
Fiatchi?
was muted. Whatever.
Ah, okay.
Oh
Are
shit,
you sure? Okay, are you sure that you were muted, or did you cut out? Because if you cut out, then
I
we
was
probably
muted.
lost. Okay, then we
I
lost the
am sure.
recording and shit. Okay. Are you really sure? Okay. Okay, you
Uh,
can.
yeah, it seems that the interface of the thing seems to be still recording.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. So, what did you say while you were muted?
Uh, Something about CoinJoin. No, I was just imagining the person receiving a burst of payments coming from nowhere. And, yeah, but I didn't say anything. Yeah, I was also in the meantime trying to look your message about what else was in this BitDevs thing.
Ah, okay. Well, miniscript.
Assume UTXO. You like Miniscript, but I don't care about it. I like
Okay.
Assume UTXO. You don't like that?
Um.
Is there any progress? It says progress.
Yeah. What the so what the state of UTX? So I have to think because we discussed it, but I'm not sure if we discussed what the state of the what currently the state of that is. Funny
Hmm.
enough. Let me see. What does it say in the link?
It has links to pull requests, but I don't want to search those. Let's skip to the next topic. Silent payments again. Uh, what else? It was interesting proposal.
I don't. So the thing with assume UTXO, it's like, yeah, okay, I guess, right?
And upvote. What is this thing? Codex 32. Never heard of that.
You haven't heard about it?
No.
I have heard about it. We didn't get to discussing it because we talked about miniscript for like a very long time.
Did you
Um,
have one of the Miniscript guys there or not?
no,
Just a
uh,
bunch of LARPers.
yeah, yeah. Just a bunch of core developers LARPing about. um, oh, that's something else. Where did I find that? Where was it? That was a report on Bitcoin development, and I know where to find it. And a list of distribution of developers by country
Hmm.
or region. Okay, yeah, the regions here are. So this is percentage share of commits, and 35% of the commits to core are from the USA, and 13.3% are from Germany, and 8.9% are from the Netherlands.
Wow.
And the share of commits per capita.
Who is from Netherlands that committing there?
Um,
That Shores guy.
yeah, yeah. So it's probably Shores. I don't know if he does a lot of reviews as well, but he's okay. It works on the wallet. But I think it's you also have Vladimir, right? Vladimir van der
Oh,
Laan.
yeah.
So if it's, I mean, he's not active anymore. I guess, but he was for a very long time, so that
Yeah,
helps.
that's true. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, if you look at the share of commits per capita, then we're like 5x more than all the others. So yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, funny, but just one guy can make all the difference. Right.
I guess it's not one guy, okay, but it's not like 100 either. So
No, I mean, yeah, that's not.
what was that? What kind of transport truck was that?
Oh, I didn't see it, but must have been a big one. So, mm, yeah.
I don't think
What about Brazil?
yeah, I was thinking about that, but it's not on the list.
I know that there's at least one guy from Brazil that has made one commit.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's
That put us on the last place.
it's not gonna help a lot. Let's see, historical maintainership. Um,
So, but the fact that these things exist, this list and this data exists for Bitcoin Core and not for anything else, is a sign that people worship these devs and this code base in a way that's not healthy.
I think it's interesting that where does Peter Vala live actually? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
No, me
Oh,
neither.
well, he supposedly works at that uh, chain code labs, so I imagine he goes there physically.
So he doesn't live in Belgium.
Yeah, yeah, I'm guessing.
Because otherwise, I guess Belgium would be on the list, but he's not there. If you look at the names that there are, if you look at the names of people in Bitcoin, a lot of them at least have like Dutch origins somewhere, right?
Hmm. Well,
Uh,
a lot of Brazilians have Dutch origins, so
Also, a lot of them have German origin as well. Hey Jeff, a lot of them are very counter-Semitic, let's say.
yeah, I don't get that joke. I don't know exactly what you're talking about.
That's good because it's Argentina for the most part. Let's say let's just blame Argentina. Um, no, but if you look at Andrew Poelstra, for example, I mean Poelstra is not a it's not a Chinese name. Let's say.
Right? Yeah.
Um,
Is he supposedly from China?
no, he's not supposed.
Well,
I was,
he could
I
be.
was just, I was just being ironic or sarcastic.
Well, it could be his parents could have been there, and
Poelstra. That's more like Japanese for whatever. Hindergunura Pustrasan. Um, yeah. So but in general, it's a lot of Northwest European descent people working on Bitcoin, which just surprise me in the least.
Yeah,
Uh,
of course. And
uh,
there's no one from Spain or Portugal or
let's
even
see.
France. There's no French
No,
people.
fuck friends. No, it's interesting. They're not on the list. So
Yeah,
it's USA.
they can't produce anything. They just complain and sit and wait for the thing to fall on their laps.
It's USA, Germany, Netherlands, Australia, Ukraine, unknown. Maybe all the French guys are anonymous. Who knows?
Yeah,
Then the UK, Switzerland, Portugal, Austria, Slovenia, Spain, Japan, New Zealand, Canada, Taiwan, uh, Czechia, France, Ireland, and Israel. That's the list.
yeah.
So
It's a
it's
very counter-Semitic list. Is there a list by color or by gender?
I don't know.
We
I
should
guess
have this.
I guess the report is not inclusive enough.
By the amount of fat in the body of people.
Fatphobic Bitcoin. Did you see the skull the Greenpeace art piece?
Yeah, change the code stuff.
Yeah. What do
Yeah, I
you
don't.
think of the art piece?
It is ugly, and I didn't understand the message actually. It says, "Don't change the climate, change the code." Is that it?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Don't change the climate. How can you change the climate?
Oh, supposedly Bitcoin is changing the climate. Bitcoin is
But so
boiling
if
the
you
oceans,
change, so
VHF.
if you change the code, you will change the climate, right? That's the premise.
Yeah,
So why do they say don't change the climate?
because now the climate supposedly is changing because of Bitcoin.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that was too complicated for my innocent mind.
Because of mining, because of proof of work,
Yeah,
and the supposed impacts of proof of work. They want us to go to proof of stake, so they're going to nag and complain until somebody changes Bitcoin into proof of stake.
yeah. I'm for changing the code and activating drive chain.
I'm not sure that's gonna.
I support that change.
I'm not sure. You're gonna convince Greenpeace that's gonna help against the climate change thing. But
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm sure Post stars can if they allow him to speak for 25 hours.
I thought you were gonna say allowed to speak for like 25 minutes, whereas I would have immediately said, but Paul Starks is not able to speak for only 25 minutes. I don't know actually. I don't know if he's long form in his presentations, but he's notoriously long form in his writing.
Well, you never watch him talking. Oh,
Yes,
that
I have watched him
you
talk.
if I've watched like he giving talks about things. In the talks, he's somewhat organized, but when he goes in these podcasts and he just tries to speak about five different things at the same time and never finishes any of the topics. It's very nice to hear. Very
It's very
pleasant.
very reminiscent of this podcast.
Yeah, it's like an actual conversation.
Oh wait, the game is already over.
Sorry, I wasn't watching.
Yeah, me neither.
I was watching a blank tab on my browser.
I was going all over the place.
But in my defense, I had already watched that video.
Yeah, we both did. So it's just for the audience, I guess.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast, send us a message and tell who won the game, and then you win some satoshis from us.
Yeah, are you going to implement the podcasting 2.0 thing or not?
I don't like that. You know, Yeah,
But why not? Why don't you? What do you
I don't
dislike
know.
about it?
Uh, I don't like the idea of streaming satoshis. And also, oh, that's another topic for the episode here. I listened to an interview. I should have sent this to you so you could have listened, but you wouldn't. So it doesn't matter. With that guy Taj Draya, I don't know how to say the
Yeah.
name, and on that Chain Code Labs podcast. Have you heard that? Have you listened to this podcast? It's very good.
Uh,
You
yeah,
like it?
but they are very infrequent
Yeah, yeah.
with
They're very
their
frequent, so you don't like it.
posting. So no, so it's like I look up every once in a while
You
if
should
they.
download the app that fetches the stuff for you
Oh, okay, but
automatically.
it's a new episode 4 days ago. I was this week. I was thinking maybe I should look if there's a new Chain Code podcast. No, I haven't listened to it yet.
No,
But
but
for the
he
audience
just
that doesn't know, he's co-writer of the original Lightning white paper.
yeah. In this episode is very interesting because he tells some stories about what they were thinking. He and the other guy when they were writing the paper and coming up with the ideas for Lightning. And then he talks about how he doesn't like the boat spec and the current implementers. He doesn't like, for example, the idea of millisatoshis. And then
Hmm.
he tells a story that they were in this. I think it was the first or second general meeting of the implementers in Australia or something, and he was there and saying to all the others, "We should get rid of millisatoshis." Blah blah blah, and then the others, oh no no no, and then they just kept the millisatoshis. And he doesn't like the other thing that I talked to you about on the first episode of this show. That is the fake HTLCs that they
Hmm.
create. That HTLCs they are not economical. They just pretend, and then he explains there much better than I did. Like they just pretend the HTLC is there and act as if it was there, but it's not. So, and then he recommends, like he says, it would be fine to not allow payments smaller than the minimum HTLC that is was economical. That's his immediate solution. What do you
Well,
think about that?
I think I think it needs to be explicit, right? So for some we maybe we should call it different. But so it could be still implemented inside the protocol that you're doing it, but it needs to be clear that you're actually doing it.
Yeah, I agree.
So so
I also think it should be treated differently. Like you shouldn't, because for example, when an HTLC gets stuck and you have to close the channel to claim the money that is in that HTLC,
hmm
you shouldn't do that if it's a fake HTLC. You should
right,
do something else. I don't know what.
right.
I suggested that. I talked about that many times, but no one cares about it.
Oh wait, so you mean that the fake below dust HLC fake HLC could actually be a trigger for closing the channel
Yeah,
if it
yeah,
gets. Oh,
it
that's
is.
that's funny.
The implementation just doesn't acknowledge the fact that it's not there. They just treat it
Uh,
as if it was.
yeah. So okay, I agree. It should be, and also agree it should be different for the most part because the moment fees start to rise, because now it's like trivial. Now it's like a marginal problem if it even is a problem. Besides the stupid thing that it starts to close channels because of that. Um, but the moment fees start to rise, more and more payments will become
Yeah,
fake lightning
yeah,
payments,
yeah. That's what I say.
and then it starts to then it will become a user expectation issue. So I in general I agree with like not creating warped expectations among users just because it's more convenient, because you're gonna fuck yourself over, because
Yeah,
it's the environment's still dynamic, things are gonna change, and then people are gonna be pissed and confused, and then they're gonna be disappointed, and you're gonna have a shit. You're gonna have to deal with another FUD campaign, and you're gonna have a new generation of Bitcoin Cash type people um,
that's true. That's
that
true.
expected that it worked one way, and it was promised to them that it worked one way, and now it didn't work one way, and then Bitcoin sucks and it doesn't scale, and it's due to the evil core developers, whatever
Yeah,
shitty
we
bullshit
should
story
hard
they come up
fork now ZK rollup, the new version of the big block.
with. So
So
I agree. It's and in regards to the millisatoshis, I think
I think they're fine as long as they're treated differently. Like if you treat the parts that are below the threshold in a
you don't have to
trusted manner
you don't
that
have to
is
treat them
smart.
differently, but you have to. People have to. If you use them, you kind of have to understand that
Yeah,
you're
yeah, but
going
I
to
think
have to
it goes in
do.
the same category of the
Yeah, yeah. But the
of
thing is like in terms of millisatoshis, that's a lot of that. That's very small, right? So you have to do a lot of. There has to be a lot of financial transactions in order for that rounding error that you or that you're creating a higher resolution to round off or to denominate value, but that denomination that higher resolution only materializes if the accumulation of all those rounding errors is I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. I'm not even sure if people are going to follow what the fuck I'm saying here. But if all the rounding errors that you don't have to do because you have a higher resolution have to add up to at least one satoshi in order to be actually effective later on.
yeah. I think it's mostly fees, routing fees that count against the millisatoshi stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, okay, but it's still that's still it's a lot of activity, right? So you need a shit ton of activity. So if
Yeah, yeah.
channels are open for, and then ultimately to
I
what
think it's
end?
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like a couple sets ultimately. Whatever. But yeah. So I don't know. I don't mind it, especially not if you get to a context where channels are open for like a year or something, or maybe longer, or whatever, or in some sort of perpetuity. Then yeah, it's useful. But people have to understand that what's actually going on. So it's kind of iffy.
So this problem of the fake HTLC was raised like the first time into prominence, uh, like 5 years ago, about from a guy called Dan Robson, I think. And then he suggested he made a talk in some conference, and he suggested doing the interledger approach. Have you heard about that?
Um,
Yeah, this
no,
shitcoin stuff. But you do
but
the
in
bit that
Lightning is an interledger system.
yeah, the interledger thing is like a protocol to bridge multiple blockchains
Oh, okay,
created
never
by
mind.
some
Oh,
people
okay,
on
okay.
Ripple.
It's okay. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah, but the idea is just that they would send very small amounts in a constant string of completely trusted payments, and the receiving side, like you would send in a route, and you would get an acknowledgement back that the receiver did receive your small amount, and then you send another one, and they compare this to TCP, and if you don't receive, if a packet fails, you stop using that route and stuff like that. But then you would be able to transfer a lot of money using these small amount trusted payments, and supposedly you would increase the amounts if a route has proven itself trustworthy and good. And I think maybe this could be an alternative to Lightning that doesn't have any pitfalls or hidden bugs. And also,
Just just
you
under
don't.
the assumption that it's trusted.
Yeah, it's trusted, but you're only bound to lose very few, and your channels don't have to close all the time because of people that go offline on their Tor Raspberry Pis.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm. What do you think?
But yeah, I'm thinking back of the problem when fees start to go up. That directly proportionally impacts Lightning, and
How
the
does it impact Lightning if you're just sending like small trusted payments.
No, it,
You just change
because
shifting the balance.
no, because it's yeah, right, correct. So it's but um I was just thinking because it's implicit, right? Because it's implicit right now. People don't actually know or not aware of that what they're doing is are doing that they're doing these trusted payments, and at the moment the fee go, I'm just repeating myself of what I said earlier, but I was just
Okay,
thinking about that.
okay,
Interesting. I'll listen to the podcast. Also, upcode or no, not upcode. Chain. No, what's the newsletter?
chain code.
No,
No,
not
Uptech.
Uptech. They have a podcast.
Really?
Yeah,
Isn't it the same stuff?
I hope so because I'm too lazy to read. So I hope that they're just
No, I
discussing
mean,
what.
isn't Uptech made by the same people that do the chain code? So the
uh,
podcast is the same.
no.
Who doesn't have a podcast this time?
Well, they're all copying us. They saw us. They think it's like, oh damn, they're doing this. They're doing this cool StarCraft Bitcoin podcast thing. We should totally do a podcast as well. And now everybody does a podcast. That's how it works.
I can't find the podcast on their website.
Um, recap podcast.
Oh, podcast. Oh, there's actually a podcast here.
Yeah, there actually is.
Yeah,
I haven't
nice.
listened to it, so I can't recommend it. I'm not sure if it's any good, but I hope
Yeah,
it's good.
I'll put it on my when I lose my sleep. I'll put it on, so maybe I can sleep.
Um, okay, we're gonna spend the last 9 minutes talking about Miniscript.
Okay,
So
Miniscript.
you, because this is where we started. This is a nice. You said it's not gonna be not gonna have a lot of impact.
Yeah,
Why? Why do you think it's not gonna have a lot of impact? Let's start there, and then I'll destroy
because
you
it's
and your
just
stupid opinions.
well, it's just making stuff that we already can. Just making it easier, seamlessly. How do you say that? And also you can do that thing that you plug your Miniscript policy into someone else's, so something like that, right? You can
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
Miniscript
it's
that
composable.
is
Yeah,
yeah, but like this thing requires so much tooling to be usable, and I don't think there's enough demand for these toolings to become widespread. So they will remain a very niche thing. And for the other possibilities, like writing a contract, I don't know. Maybe it's used by super big custodians or like to implement very fancy, secure setups. But aside from that, I don't see anything that will change. Like, and these super big people, they could already be doing this right on normal script.
but they're
So
not.
yeah, why not? Because they don't care.
No, I don't think it's that they don't care. I think that the risk is too high.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
there's
could be, but
no
yeah,
there's more to it. So the problem with um, Bitcoin contracts is they need to be you you need to they need to be standardized because if they're not if they're too specific and too novel and too particular, then you rely on very specific software in order to even interact with them.
yeah. But if you're a big company with a big bank, you're already writing your own software, and you rely on that.
Who's gonna write that shit? You're a big bank. Where are you gonna find the developers that are even capable of writing freaking Bitcoin script?
Well, if you're a big exchange today, you probably already have these, and then you can like pay some core developer to take a look and see if it's not very bad afterwards, something like that. Or you hire someone just to build this to write this and throw them away later.
Yeah, and then you have to write a complete stack all the way up to a wallet that can interact with it, so that your actual employees can use it, and then
No, you use
you
the libraries that already exist.
what fucking libraries that already exist?
Well, there are Bitcoin libraries for doing Bitcoin transactions, low-level Bitcoin transactions in every language.
Yes, but they're not able to function with the they're not they don't understand these more complex contracts,
No, you have to write them manually,
right?
but it's
So you
just that little bit, that small part. The other part is like it's just managing the transactions and sending transactions here and there. That part is much easier and much more understood.
okay?
Just
Under so I'm not saying that you're actually wrong. I'm not. I don't know to what extent the exchanges
I
do
don't
this
know
stuff.
how they do it either.
They might be, but it's very tricky. And then still, then it's only those guys doing it, and it's probably proprietary, so it's not out there. The thing
So
is,
the
yeah,
miniscript stuff is already implemented in some places, like the BDK library that everybody loves, right?
um, I think they're working on implementation on BDK, but it's now um, they're implementing it on the core side at least.
Okay.
So you already had a watch capability, so you could receive the payments, I think, but you can sign them. I think now you can sign them, if I say that correctly.
Okay.
Um, and no, but so here's the thing: it needs to be a standard, right? Because if you're using it now and you want to come back in a year, you still want to use it, then you don't want to have to rely that the actual software still works, or that if somebody else needs to access it, that they need to have this specific type of software. And maybe it's not a year, maybe it's 10 years,
Yeah.
all that type of stuff, right?
Okay. Yeah. And also, it's
Um,
good for interoperability, of
right.
course. Yeah.
So, but so that's it's like a practical thing, but it's actually really important. If if you're locking your money away under these types of contracts. So, um,
I
and
agree.
then
It's useful. I agree. It's useful.
yes, okay, but then so now what's the actual use of using using the contracting capabilities that now are available to you within Miniscript? The only fucking thing we had was multisig, and
Yes.
that's relatively recent. I mean, you have good multisig wallets now, but I'm not sure. So that's doable for if people take the time and the understanding, they might be able to do it. The thing is, I'm not saying it's gonna have an impact tomorrow, but if in relation to hyper Bitcoinization, I would say you're never going to hyper Bitcoinize if you don't have this stuff, because serious people need serious solutions to manage their money, and having like a stupid single key is just not cutting it. And even having like a multi-sig is not cutting it. Like the deprecation clause of just having it's like, okay, it's a 5 out of 3, and then or it's like a 5 out of 5, and then after 3 months it's a 5 out of 3, and after 6 months it's a 2 out of 5, and then after a year it's like this extra special key that now becomes active, that it's at a notary or something. You need that shit, because if your 5 people are in a bus accident and they're all dead, how are you going to access the money?
Yeah.
You need the complexity in the contracts in order to deal
But
with the
I
complexity of
think
real
that
life.
you're overestimating the amount of serious people that exist in the world and
No,
how
but if you're
serious they
talking
are.
about hyper Bitcoinization, then there are obviously the it's a pre-required function. It's pre-required, right? You're only going to hyper Bitcoinize if the serious people are even
Who
capable of
are the serious
use
people? I'm not
businesses.
disagreeing with you.
No, but businesses, right? Businesses are serious people.
I'm not sure they're serious. Like they're professional. It's different.
No, but they're dealing with serious amounts of money. It's where it's not necessarily their money, or not completely their money. They're responsible for that money, etc., etc.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it's important to have like the big the big brains of Bitcoin saying you can use this and you can do this and that, and then the serious people, as you say, they will listen. They wouldn't listen if some developer said, "Oh, we could write this fancy script and do this." They wouldn't take the developer seriously. But if the big brains are saying you can do that and here's the language and it's easy,
No, but
then they can
I think the
trust the
thing is,
solution.
yes, but I think it's not even about telling anybody. You can show them. I think that's the difference now.
Yeah.
With if you have a little bit of if you have some implementation around miniscript, if you have a fancy wallet, right? A fancy wallet where it's just all abstracted, you just click a template. I want this type of contract. I want those parameters, right? So many keys, so many days waiting time, whatever. And it's all nice. It looks nice, and you can show it to the serious guy within in the suit that doesn't understand fuck all about computers, but does understand stuff about managing his money. You can show it to him. It's like, okay, you click this, and this is how you now manage your Bitcoin. I I do think it's
Yeah.
a game changer. I personally I think we've been starved for this shit because it has been like a dumb shiny digital rock for so fucking long.
What is it now with all the inscriptions?
Now it becomes a smart dumb digital shiny rock.
It's much shinier now. It
No,
has
it's
all colors and pictures in this rock.
no, I really think it's a very I think it's a fundamentally
Okay, you've
important
convinced
step.
me.
Okay,
You've
cool.
convinced me.
Okay, that's good. Then let's stop here because we're at an hour.
Okay,
All right. Talk to you later.
thank you.
Bye bye.